You're listening to Compete Sports Radio Network.
Welcome to Compete Radio. I'm your host, Josh Fourier. It is the second week in November. We're here with Buddy Early with the news, Alfonso Chavez with Sports Pop, Connie Wardman with Ask Connie, your resident straight lady, and of course Eric Carlisle with interviews, hot topics, and more. Welcome to the show. I guess right now in headlines, one of the big stories, the top 100.
Well, this has been a big story. Sorry to cut you off. I know where you're going with this, though. You said top 100.
Yeah.
About a week ago from the taping of this, the NFL Network came out with a list of their top 100 players. Actually, it's been going on for a few weeks, and they've been revealing their top 100. And it's created controversy.
No baby talk.
It's created quite a controversy. Of course, anytime a list comes out, top movies, somebody says Citizen Kane, and then somebody gets up in arms. So there's always people who have their beef with list. But it's a very interesting list, and I wanted to count down the top 10 according to the NFL Network, and then maybe give you a couple of my thoughts. I don't have a big beef with the top 10 or even the 100, although I have a few thoughts, as you might imagine, on the whole thing.
If it's a list, Buddy loves it.
How about your own top 10 if it's not in accordance with theirs?
Well, I have a few thoughts on their top 10, and then I have a few snubs that didn't even make the top 100 that I want to mention. But really quick, let's count down the top 10. Top 10, I know this is going to get some chuckles from somebody at the table, is Dick Butkus. That is his real name and his porn name.
Good thing Fabulonzo's not here to comment on that.
Isn't that the truth?
I think a lot of people know Dick Butkus from television appearances and, cameos in movies and just commercials and stuff like that. Number 9, Don Hutson, who none of us would remember, not even you, Connie.
I was going to, I'm older than dirt. That doesn't sound familiar.
He was a Packers wide receiver back in the 30s and 40s.
Oh.
So there you go.
Following up Dick Butkus to Packers wide receiver.
Number 8 is the only active player who made the top 10, and that's Peyton Manning, who, as his career continues, he will move up this list and may eventually be known as the greatest to ever play the game. Number 7 is Reggie White from the Eagles, who passed away some years ago. And you might remember Reggie White because in the 90s, he was sort of a minister as well. I'm using hand quotes.
And didn't his wife continue with some of that?
Yes, but he also was very vocal against gay equality and gay marriage and all of that stuff. So we love him, but he passed away some years ago. But good for him for making the top 10. Number 6, Johnny Unitas. A little before my time, but of course I remember. I've read a lot about him.
He's the old school football player. Knock him down, knock your teeth out.
Yeah, he was also a quarterback for the Colts. So 2 Colts quarterbacks made the top 10.
Gosh.
Number 5, Walter Payton, Sweetness.
Okay.
That's his nickname.
No. I was this like the 80s or?
Walter Payton was personified football in the 80s.
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm laughing. I'm like that just rang a bell with those 80s things.
Speaking of the 80s, number 4 was Joe Montana. I think everybody knows Joe Montana. And he was the highest quarterback on the list.
Was he really?
Yes, number 4.
That surprises me.
Number 3, Lawrence Taylor, linebacker for the Giants, who was redefined the position of linebacker. I mean, when you say the word linebacker, you think of Lawrence Taylor. He just took it to an entirely new level. He's had some legal problems as of lately with a underage prostitute ending up in bed in his hotel room.
Yeah, there's a blog on our website about, the lust and being stupid.
Number 2, Jim Brown, running back from the Browns. Had a shorter career than, say, Walter Payton and some other people, but when he was playing, he just barreled through the defenses. And number 1, and I think this is one of the biggest controversies of the whole list, number 1, the NFL Network has Jerry Rice, wide receiver for the 49ers, had a very long career, holds tons of records for wide receivers. But I think the beef, and I tend to agree with this.
I'm sorry, buddy.
Connie has a little bit of that juvenile giggles here whenever we says they have beef with us or we have beef with them.
I know what's coming. I can tell what the I can read the brain waves. Let me put it that way.
You're thinking beef and rice. That's where you're going with this.
Yeah.
I think the beef with Jerry Rice is that as a wide receiver, you're not even in the game as much as most other position players. Mm-hmm. You come in and you have a pass thrown to you and hopefully you catch it, and then you come out of the game, and then you'll go back in. And so to have a wide receiver, any wide receiver, as number one on the list, I think that's what a lot of people, including myself, sort of raise an eyebrow to.
Is that kind of like having a kicker in the number one position?
Incidentally, no kickers or punters made the top 100. Okay. But I wanted to mention some players who I think sort of got the shaft. Go ahead.
I'm not
Connie.
saying
Where
anything.
is
Just be careful you don't invoke Fabulonzo.
Yeah,
That's all
where
I'm
is
going
he
to say.
today? What's going on?
We've been so lucky up till now.
So I thought of 5 players who didn't even make the list, who I was really surprised about. First of all, Warren Sapp, who you might remember from Dancing with the Stars. Big 350, 400-pound
huge, but light
guy
on his
who
feet.
placed second on Dancing with the Stars, which goes to show how much his fans supported him, because I don't watch the show, but I doubt he was the second best dancer on that season. But I was surprised he didn't make the list. Also, Jackie Slater, who was an offensive lineman for 20 years with the Rams.
Doesn't ring a bell at all.
And the thing about Jackie Slater was he played for the Rams from the mid-'70s to the mid-'90s.
Okay.
And that's a period. I mean, first of all, that's a long time.
Yeah,
19
it
years,
is.
I think. 20 years. It spanned... It bridged sort of generations in the game. Like the game was played differently from the late 70s to the early 90s, and he stayed through that and was able to remain a starter and remain dominant. And so I think that's why he should have been on the list for sure. Yeah. Cowboys and Bears had the most players on the list. Each team had 8. Running backs and quarterbacks, there were 19 of each. And on the defense, there were 14 linebackers. So those are the highest positions, the highest number for each for position players. Again, no kickers or punters. No big surprise because they're,
Well, they can play forever. Well,
they can, and
sorta.
a lot of kickers, if they sustain
they stay
their
in shape. Yeah.
they can kick into their 40s. But they miss 2 field goals in one game and then they're cut the
They're
next day.
gone,
So
yeah.
that the life of an NFL kicker is generally a kicker will play for 4, 5, 6, 7 teams in his career because they just bounce around.
Yeah.
So anyway, check out that. It's a top100.nfl.com, and they can check out the list and come up with their own. And I'm sure a lot of people may have someone other than Jerry Rice as their number 1 player.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So when you say come up with your own, can you go on the website?
They have fan voting, and so I think they're continuing that because the fans have a different list.
Very cool.
So they put that kind of side by side, and
awesome. Okay, well, coming up next, we have a brand new segment. It's with, we're taking all of your calls and your Facebooks. It's Ask Connie coming right up. Stay with us.
Compete Sports Radio Network. You're listening to Compete Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Josh Fourier. We're here with Buddy Early with the news, Alfonso Chavez, Connie Wardman, and Eric Carlisle. Welcome back. If you just joined us, we were just talking about the top 100 players in the NFL. You can go, what was the website they can go to again?
They can go to NFL.com or top100.nfl.com.
That's awesome. Okay, and then there's also user voting where they can go and vote on their own players. That's really cool. I'm gonna have to go check that out. Actually,
I want to know why Terry Bradshaw wasn't on the list.
He wasn't in the top 10, but he did make the list. I think he was somewhere around number 42 or something, which is a little high in my opinion. But
we'll talk later.
So, Connie, are you ready for this? It's a brand new segment on the show.
I know. Well, actually, I didn't stop at the grocery store yet to pick up the aluminum foil. need to wrap my head just so I get the transmissions in. I have no idea how this is going to go, but stay tuned, folks.
We're sending you into crazy land, that's for sure, because what we're doing.
I thought I was already there.
Yeah, well, now it's the next realm.
Now it's outside crazy as opposed to inside the office crazy.
Okay.
It's intense now.
Bring it on.
Here's what's happened. We haven't really informed Connie about her new segment, so
Always the last to know.
absolutely. What we've done is we've asked you, our listeners, to send us your comments and questions for Connie. And so we've taken everything from Facebook, Twitter, emails, and even we got a couple letters through snail mail, which is unusual.
Yes.
But very unusual for us that we would get
it is.
mail.
Especially since Connie didn't even know this was a segment. Here we are getting letters for it already.
Absolutely. So out of all
Talk
of your
about being sandbagged.
out of all of your questions and comments for this trial run of Ask Connie, we have chosen what we think, at least for this part, what we think is probably one of the most unusual and semi interesting questions that we kind of asked ourselves and didn't really we couldn't really decide if it was something we would do or not. But here it is. This is from Mark in Tempe, Arizona. Connie, are you ready?
Okay.
Are you ready?
Go for it, Mark. What do you want to know?
Are you sure?
No, but we'll do it anyway.
All right.
We're risk takers.
Mark wants to know if it's a bad idea to hook up with someone on his team, even if they both agree that it's just sex.
Oh, hubba hubba. Well, yeah, but don't do it on the field. I mean, who's
Don't do it on the field.
the sex?
Don't have sex on the field?
No, if their team is there, I mean,
That's a good
it's
point.
not group participation, is it?
Well, I don't know.
That's a different question.
That's different day.
Is that like no sex in the champagne room? No sex on the field? Is that general?
I don't know, but I think talk about the hook. We ought to take that question away.
Well, what happens? What happens if something goes wrong? What if they end up?
Well, there's an old saying in business, and I think it applies to sports as well. And forgive me because it's a little vulgar, but it says, "Don't shit where you eat."
Oh, I thought you were going to be a little more tactful than that and say, don't dip your pen in the company ink.
Excuse
Yes,
me.
well-
Excuse me.
Oh, gosh.
I heard
Lonzo.
this interesting topic, and there's actually something I'd like to add, and I know you don't want to do.
First, Fabulonzo, right?
Hello.
You've joined us. You missed the first segment. We needed you, and you
Don't encourage
Well-
him.
I know sometimes they let me in. Sometimes they let me in, but then they don't let me back in. So I got to really make it count.
have to get past security.
Once they catch me, I can't get back in.
He
But-
slithers under the door.
I get it how I can.
We've heard that about you, actually.
So to follow up on Connie's note about eating in certain places, you definitely don't want to do that because I've gotten a parasite before and it's not pretty. And
You weren't on the field, were you?
what business is that of yours?
And it's tough to
You have-
wash off grass stains. I mean, that's the other thing you have to think about.
This is true.
The other question I have is, do you have plans later?
But Fabulonzo, what we
Or Mark.
want to know is it a good idea or a bad idea to hook up with someone on your team?
Well, Connie's right. It's not a good idea to put yourself in that predicament. Read that as you will.
Well, if he's your teammate and he's supposed to be covering your rear end,
Again,
and you have a
predicament.
fight. Exactly.
Yes. So what I'm going to say on this is do what you're going to do if you're an adult. If you're not an adult and you don't behave as an adult, don't do adult things with adults you have to see all the time.
That takes out about 97% of the population, doesn't it?
No, I don't think so. I think there are
Oh,
so
96%?
96.2.
Oh, okay.
There's so many people in this world that you can hook up and have sex with. Why choose someone on your team where if something goes wrong, there's problems within your team?
Because we love drama.
And typically they're hotter in sports, as we all know. But that's not always true. But that's what the magazines and our community tells us, is that people on sports are hotter.
Well, yeah, and that's true a lot of times, I guess.
Well, once they get over that play, they cool down a little. Oh, you mean hot in a different way? perchance?
Well, I don't know, but I got to go see a man about a locker room at a gym and something or other. So thanks for having me again, Connie, and not hitting me over the head with the shovel like that last time.
I just couldn't get close enough to you this time.
Well, I better run.
Goodbye.
You know, Connie, I can share a little bit about this question because
good,
on
buddy.
my volleyball team, I had two guys who hooked up but also started dating. And I told them from the very beginning, this is a bad idea. And sure enough, between seasons, they split up, and it wasn't amicable. It was a bad breakup, and we had to lose one of the guys from the team.
See, that's it. You need to think team and not sex.
I do want to say, Alfonso, when you and Fabi Alonso hooked up, how did that affect your relationship?
Oh, no.
It was strange.
You
It
guys
was very
were on the same dart team,
In
right?
fact, I didn't know it was possible.
I hear you two hook up like twice a day.
I don't know. Sometimes I somehow manage to make it that wherever he is, I'm not, and wherever I'm not, he is.
Alfonso's very hands-on, if you want to know.
Yeah, and I don't know if I'd want to get my hands on Fabi Alonso aside from to strangle him.
He seems very high maintenance. It seems like it would take a
Absolutely.
lot of work.
He's probably a lot of work, but not high maintenance.
No? You don't?
I disagree.
Alfonso, you know, every week in Sports Pop is entertaining, but this one, I think in particular, I'm a little shocked when you gave us the rundown of what you were going to be talking about today. This bestiality and it goes on. What's going on this week? It seems like things are getting crazier every week that you do this.
I'm scared.
Well, you know,
Me too.
Joel Monahan of the Canberra Raiders, he's a rugby player, and he did something pretty stupid. If he had a bone, I wouldn't want him giving it to my dog. Let's just put it that way, especially since the dog's a Chihuahua.
I have a Chihuahua.
Well, yeah. So let me give you a little bit of background here. So what was going on was there's something called Mad Monday, and it's something rugby players do in Australia after the last game in their season. So they go out and just get completely smashed, hitting different pubs.
I do that, except it's
just
just
get
called
stupid.
Monday.
Yeah,
And Tuesday?
or Thursday, or any day there's a game on TV. Yeah, so he decided it would be funny to play a prank on a teammate while he was drunk. So he got his friend's dog, and I don't know how it went from there, but someone in there got a picture of him with his penis in the dog's mouth, or at
Yes.
least it appears this way, and it got posted on Twitter. And it's all over the internet, and
Why do you think they call it viral marketing? Good grief.
That is absolutely disgusting. So there's proof of this then. There's actually a photograph of him actually.
there's a picture of him with a dog's mouth on his member.
Hey, sports fans, take a lesson. Good ideas when you're drunk really aren't good ideas. Put them off until you're sober again.
It's easier to
I'm curious to know whose bright idea it was to take this picture and post it on the
jeez.
internet.
Yeah, but it's easy for us to say, "Oh, bad idea." I mean, he's drunk.
Right,
We don't
exactly.
make good decisions when we're drunk.
Oh, I'm the first one to admit that I don't make good decisions when I'm drunk.
Me either, and I don't drink.
That's really so.
but-
So who is this guy as far as his celebrity
Well,
status?
again, his name is Joel Monahan, and he plays for the Canberra Raiders in Australia.
He played
plays
for.
rugby.
He played
He's
for.
rugby.
He played for. Did he resign?
He resigned,
He
yes.
now
he
plays for the
Nice.
Chihuahua League.
So it isn't recommended, but just for the credibility of this segment, if you want to go on Google and search, that's who you would search for. and I'm sure
You can find it on Deadspin.com, and it's Joel Monahan, spelled Monaghan. Hopefully, it doesn't get you arrested for bestiality if your computer's confiscated by the police or something.
that's illegal in many areas of the country.
Yeah.
Just for our own
In
credibility.
many areas of the body.
Yeah, share the
That's
link,
just-
not the photo.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
That's so disgusting. I'm shocked.
So I do actually want to go on to a really big story that I found today, and this came from San Diego Gay and Lesbian News. They reported that the No Hate campaign has its first pro athlete participant. Now, if you're not familiar with the No Hate campaign, it's Adam Buska, who's a photographer in the LA area, who started this campaign to fight the Proposition 8, which prohibits same-sex marriages in California.
Right.
And this was Antonio Cromartie, cornerback of the New York Jets, became the first sports star, like a big star in professional sports, to participate in that campaign. And Cromartie is actually known for holding a record for the longest play in NFL history,
Right.
which was on a return.
109 yards.
Exactly. And
Did he make the list, buddy? Was he on the
He
list?
did not, but he is a very good player.
yeah, well, it came with a little bit of controversy because some people think that Cromartie is probably not the best person
No.
that we want in our favor. He's fathered many children with many mothers in many states.
Can we say
Oh, joy.
9 children with 8 different women in 6 different states?
Yeah, exactly.
And one Labrador.
That's wrong story. But, on the other hand, it's like, are we in a place to be picky about our allies?
Right. It's still a huge
Yes,
And it's
we
still-
are.
it's
you
still-
don't want to associate with jerks like that.
Yeah, and it's still people that younger people look up to.
And you know what? Maybe he's okay with fathering 9 children by 8 different women. Who am I to say?
Maybe Shirley Q. Licker is one of those mothers.
Look down to him.
Oh, I miss her.
Shirley Q. Licker. Let's not bring her up.
Well, I just wanted to quickly point out that other players who are known to be allies of our community include Scott Fujita, who's probably the most well-known for his support of the New Orleans Saints.
Well, he's not with the Saints anymore, but he was
At
on
the
the
time.
Super Bowl team. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I'm glad you're here, buddy. Brendan Ayabandejo. Excuse me,
yeah.
who was actually the first to come out in support of us, and somebody else who it wasn't same-sex marriage, but he came out against anti-gay bullying was Drew Brees.
Right.
So those
Good for
are
him.
some other
And also
allies.
Steve Nash recently.
Yes.
Yes,
Steve.
that's
just
correct.
tweeted, that bullying sucks.
Yeah.
I'm paraphrasing, but
And I bet, as short as he is, he probably went through his share of that.
well,
just for
he-
that alone.
he's short for NBA standards, but
Yeah.
he's 6'2", so
Well, he's
looks
big
like
when it
he's
comes to
4'10".
results. So I've got a couple of things I want to quickly get to. An Ottawa bookstore received a quote-unquote letter from Jesus.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, Extra Canada reported that this bookstore, after Stonewall, received a letter that states, the subject line was, "Do not believe the lies of Satan." And this letter was written in response to a calendar shoot with members of the gay-friendly rugby team, the Ottawa Wolves. And in one of the calendar photos, they recreated Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper, except they were naked and standing up, but their
Sure.
man parts were covered. They were strategically placed behind things. The writer of the letter insisted they were making a mockery of the actual Last Supper and not the famous work of Leonardo da Vinci. Really quickly, I just wanted to say that it's really arrogant to send a letter posing as God.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it's,
I do it every day, but I guess
well, they reference Deuteronomy, one of the verses about that they beat over gays' heads in churches. I also want to point out something in the New Testament. There's a word, arsenokoites, where it says they will not enter the kingdom of heaven, which means spineless. And to send an anonymous letter using the name of God as in place of your own name, that's pretty spineless.
Compete Sports Radio Network.
hello, everybody. It's Eric Carlisle. I have no idea what I'm doing today, but I thought I'd say hi anyway.
hello, Eric.
We're glad you're here. I guess
you.
there's a couple new voices on the show today. Huh?
Absolutely.
Actually, I'm an old new voice because actually I was on the very first radio show.
You were on the vintage edition of Compete Radio.
I was on the
Vintage
vintage
edition.
edition. And you know what? I'm the owner, but I still got fired anyway. So you just never know what can happen around here.
Many questions.
I do have a topic though we're going to throw out there today.
Yeah, what's going on?
It's kind of been beat to death, but first I want to say that the idea of this radio show came from Alfonso. When we first opened the magazine, when was that? About 4 years ago. Alfonso and I were on our way to Church's Chicken, and Alfonso says that someday we could be like Oprah and have a big media company. So it's amazing how fast that can happen. So
Yeah, Oprah/Martha Stewart.
there you go.
But
But
a vision come to reality.
It
It's
is.
very
Without
good
the
idea,
jail
Alfonso.
sentence
With our-
attached.
Yeah, with her finger in everyone's wine.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
one of the things that Alfonso asked me, he says, Eric, can we do a It Gets Better campaign in the office? And I thought, you know what? Life gets better in every way when you get older. In fact, I think a good person, that's a good Ask Connie question, right?
It is. I'm 97, and I look forward to every new day coming along.
And you don't look a day over 85.
You're darn right, boy.
The older you
and she
get,
moves like she's 70.
the older you get, the more you enjoy
gonna hit
crusty
you with
muffins.
my walker.
That's all I can say.
Dusty
Muffins. Dusty Muffins.
Dusty Muffs?
Or muffins.
Oh, is that a drag queen? Dusty Muffins?
So what I thought I would ask everyone to do was share a story about how their life has improved.
You want this to happen right now.
Absolutely.
Spur of
so
the moment.
spontaneous.
No script.
Let me get out my
Eric is never
4,000-page
spontaneous.
memoir.
That's so strange.
Let's start with Buddy because he's already starting to talk anyway.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. I think the important thing to remember, and this has always been my philosophy in at least my adult life, is that, follow your gut, follow your instincts. And I know that's a lot of times easier said than done, but that's what I've always done in my personal and professional and in all my different lives. If you trust your instincts and you have, good instincts to go on, it's going to turn out okay. And that's what's led me to where I am today. And I think I've achieved a certain level of success professionally and personally, and I'm very happy. And I don't know how to answer the question, how has my life gotten better
I thought
necessarily.
It was because you met all of us.
Well, yes, you didn't let me finish, Connie, because
darn,
it's definitely
okay.
been better since I've met the wonderful people at Compete Sports Media.
I think he's lying.
We didn't even have to pay him for that, did we?
Oh, we pay. Believe me, we pay.
The one thing I've always kept in mind is this is the phrase, "This too shall pass."
Yeah.
And whenever there are rough times, just know that will pass, and good times are right around the corner. And that's always been true for me. Whenever, today I just spent, $600 on new brakes, and I've been cursing all day. But you know what? Next week's going to be better.
Yeah.
So.
One thing I want to talk about was I was raised with an evangelical background, and when I first came out to my mother, now this was when I was going to Arizona State and wasn't living at home, I finally built up the nerve to tell my mom that I was gay, and the first thing she told me is, well, you're going to hell.
Oh.
But as much as it hurt hearing that from my mom, I still knew, based on what I'd learned about the Bible and what it says, I wasn't allowed to believe it. Something in me wouldn't let me believe that was true. And over time, I actually started to hear more things, and more people were speaking out against people who were gay. And, they were using this hate homosexuality, love, hate the sinner, or hate the sin, love the sinner. The word hate is still in there.
Right.
But I was still able to look past that. And somehow I managed to not get caught up in what somebody else decided the truth was. I decided what the truth was for me. And that's something everybody has the capacity to do, is to shut out what everybody else defines as the truth and find your own.
So you're still a 14-year-old girl?
No, I'm 14 and a half.
And real quick, this book, The Bible, I can find it at local retailers.
You can find it online. You can find it in many
B-I-B-L-E.
different translations.
And who's the author?
There are many authors,
Okay.
actually.
Very good. I'm going to look for that.
I think it was Jesus' dad. Well, let me just continue in this theme, because I come at this topic from a parent's point of view. And it was clear from the get-go that my son Jeff was gay, and he couldn't admit it to him. And later on he did. And you know what? We were all crazy about him, and so was everybody else. And he went on to have a great amount of friendships with people whose parents didn't love them and wanted to be accepted and loved. So if you know somebody like that, or if you know parents who don't get the process, talk to them. They need to have a different point of view, and it begins with you.
Okay, I was really talking about like the better cars we have, and the fact that we have takeout delivery food all the time now. You guys are all getting all sentimental.
Oh yeah,
on me.
that rocks. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, the car I have is much better than
But
the
it
one
seems
I had.
the thing,
Yeah.
this It Gets Better campaign is sort of the big thing right now, and it's so simple. The phrase "it gets better," but nothing else. Sort
The
of
simple things are the hardest
says
to
it.
honor with integrity. on a
But that
regular
message
basis.
that we're trying to get across to young people of "it gets better" it's so simple, yet that's exactly what we need to say.
And they all have it within themselves to make it
Absolutely.
better.
And it's true. What's that event that we're...
IGBO.
IGBO.
Yes, International Gay Bowling Organization is having an event in Washington, D.C. this weekend. And if any of our listeners want more information, they can go to igbo.org.
Perfect. Thank you so much for listening. Join us on the web at competenetwork.com/radio.
Compete Sports Radio Network.